Welcome everyone, good morning, evening and afternoon as well. We are starting the weekend and we have for today an informational video, some tips and some tricks on how to maximize your reputation gains, your renown gains for your favorite factions. This is also going to be a trip down the degeneracy lane to see just how far World of Warcraft players push themselves when it comes to grinding things, when it comes to getting there first in a particular reward. So for today, when it comes to the reputations, let's start with the fastest one and also the simplest one, which requires less thinking, which is the Maruuk Centaurs. The Maruuk Centaurs being the preferred choice of leatherworkers and blacksmiths, as they reward you quite a good amount of stuff for those professions. Now this is very simple, because beyond just doing the normal stuff, so you complete all of the campaign, you go around and do all of the side quests to catch all of the extra reputation there, you do the bi-weekly camp, the moving camp around the Renown plains to give you some dailies for some extra 800 to 1000 rep. After that's over, most of the other reputation gains with the Centaurs is going to come in the form of hunting trophies. Those trophies will also come, for the majority, in the form of grand hunts. Now, you might have read and heard that you just need to do the hunts 3 times a week for the epic spoils rewards, and then the rare rewards, and then the uncommon rewards. However, where you will be getting 99% of your reputation will be from the shit spoils, the white ones, the repeatable one. This is the one that you get as you will complete your grand hunts over and over and over. The TLDR is that every 2 hours the hunts will rotate a zone. They go from Waking Shores, and then Renown Plains, and then Azurspan, and then Valdrakken. Every 2 hours there are going to be hunts in that zone. Every time one hunt is completed, a new one will immediately pop somewhere else. There are 3 fixed locations in each of the zones where the hunts can spawn. Now, what's the trick here? And why do you see so often this thing right here in the looking for group tool? Why is, for example, everyone raiding these hunts? The trick here to the hunts is that the hunts do not scale with players. It doesn't matter how many players are currently doing the hunt, it very simply goes faster the more players there are. Why? Because if there is one step of the hunt which requires you to save, to rescue 10 injured Centaurs, if there are 2 people rescuing them, it's 10 Centaurs. If there is 20 people rescuing them, it's 10 Centaurs. If there is 100 people rescuing them, it's still 10 Centaurs. It does not scale with the amount of players, which means the more there are, the faster the steps can get completed. So every step you complete of the hunt gives you 15 rep. Once you have completed 6 steps and a total of 90 rep, you get your satchel, you get your white bag of rewards, which will include 4 hunting trophies. Every trophy is turned in for 25 rep. So it's 100 rep total. 90 rep from each of the steps of the hunt plus 100 rep from the trophies is 190 reputation per each grand hunt you complete. If you were somewhere in the realm of Renown 10-ish before you started this, you will need some 35 to 37,000 reputation to get to Renown 25. This translates roughly in 190 hunts needed to complete the whole grind. Also, we can break it down a little bit more. It translates into 13 hunts needed for a single Renown level. Also, for more number crunching, every hunt should be completed in a raid in roughly less than 5 minutes. Even 4 or less if you're pretty fast and you don't get cucked by role-playing and spawn time waiting, depending on which of the activities you get given by the hunt to progress. It should be quite quick. So that is pretty much all you need to go for when it comes to grinding Maruuk Centaurs. It's literally going to be somewhere in the realm of 10 hours if you have a quick group, if you were at Renown 11 to 12-ish when you started, or even upwards of 15 hours if you were at Renown 9 or Renown 10 and the hunts are not as fast. So that is the first grind we are going for, the Maruuk Centaurs. After that, we increase in degeneracy, in the amount of grinds required, because we go to the Valdrakken Accord. This is quite on the unknown side, because it is amongst the slower ones to complete, and not nearly as much of a clear case of where to get rep with this type of faction. So, the way you get rep, the best and fastest way still with the Valdrakken Accord, is to complete keys. Now, you might have heard the term keys very often recently because this is the way you get rep in the Obsidian Citadel with Sabellian or with Wrathion. Yes, the same place. That's because once you turn in the quests, you don't just get rep with those two guys, you also get 50 Valdrakken Accord rep. And that is all there is. Basically, imagine the grind you had to do for the Obsidian gear you did, and then multiply it by 4 to 5. That's the amount of time you will have to spend there to get enough key turn-ins to get the Valdrakken Accord rep from the rep gains of completing the keys. You would be going so far over with either Sabellian or Wrathion rep that actually the best way to complete this grind with the Valdrakken Accord is not to turn in your keys to either of them. Not Wrathion for 250 rep with Wrathion, not Sabellian with 250 rep for Sabellian. The best one is Aegis. Yes, the little lizard to the side next to the pool of lava which spawns one of the mini-bosses you can spawn by turning in keys to Aegis. That guy actually also has a very high chance, at least 1 in 3, every time you complete a key, to also give you a Titan Relic in the satchel of goodies you get once you turn in a key. Titan Relic is the Valdrakken Accord related type of currency that you earn sometimes and that you can turn in with the Valdrakken Accord to get rep with them. So turning in keys with Aegis rather than the usual Sabellian or the usual Wrathion will cut the amount of keys you need by over 100, which is quite a large number. That being said, even if you do cut the number of keys by over 100, you're still left with somewhere in the realm of 640 keys required if you started somewhere around Renown 10 levels with the Valdrakken Accord. Every level above 10, then you can cut roughly 50 keys. So if you were Renown 12 or Renown 13 already, then the number of keys will start becoming 500 or 450, which is still quite the massive amount. You know, 50 keys to get 1 Renown. How long will it take you to get 50 keys in one go? Several hours. This grind, however, nowadays we can say it's one of the cases of first come first served. This grind, however, is one of the many cases where the saying exploit early and often is definitely true, because since this grind was doable, the Obsidian grind has been nerfed significantly, and also now everyone and their mother knows about it, which means the entire place is covered in groups trying to grind. So trying to do this properly and now even make it 7 to 8 times as slow with the Valdrakken Accord rep is going to be near impossible unless you find the God Shard in-game completely empty just for you and your group to be grinding this. There are unfortunately no other clean, easy ways to repeat rep grinding with the Valdrakken Accord besides this type of key turn-ins. So that's what you get for now with this faction. I guess a bit unlucky perhaps for tailorers, for blacksmiths, if they wanted some of the high Renown level recipes and patterns with the Valdrakken Accord. It's not going to be nearly as simple to get that high compared to other factions. Now, talking about other factions, we do have another case of the exploit early and often, which is the Expedition, the Dragonscale Expedition. This one was doable with the famed grind of the Disturbed Dirt. The Disturbed Dirt is one of the 3 ways of finding treasures that you will be introduced to by leveling up your Renown with the Dragonscale Expedition. This was quite simple. These Disturbed Dirts on the ground worked like mining nodes, worked like herb nodes around the world. You simply created your own route, your own path throughout the entire Dragon Isles, and you went and picked them up. Every time you pick one up, you were guaranteed at least 1 artifact, the turn-in for rep with the Dragonscale Expedition, up to 3 of them. So you continue to fly around doing the whole trek for about 15 to 20 hours until eventually you snatched all of the artifacts needed to turn in to get your rep up to 25, for example. This also has since been nerfed, not just in the amount of them spawning, but also in the amount of times you will be finding very cool things that made this grind also worth for people who didn't care at all about Dragonscale Expedition. One was the drop chance of the Dragon Shards of Knowledge coming from these dirts, and also the other one was the drop chance of the Primal Chaos, also having a reasonably high chance, 10% or so, to come from these dirts. After these have been nerfed, it has been made since quite more slow to get Dragonscale Expedition rep. However, here's the good news. The good news is that if you are insane enough to be doing the Valdrakken grind with key farming in the Obsidian Citadel, then the caches, the rewards you get from turning in keys, also reward you with one artifact as well, guaranteed. So at the very least, as you're doing Valdrakken Accord rep with key turn-ins, then you also are getting rep with the Dragonscale Expedition at the same time. So basically, if you get to Renown 25 with the Valdrakken Accord with keys, you're also getting close to Renown 25 with the Dragonscale Expedition. So it's a 2-in-1 deal that will also make your mind go insane, but at the very least, you will be able to have 2 factions at Renown 25. This, unfortunately for Tailorers, was also their other best faction to grind. So unfortunately for them, the worst reps to farm, Dragonscale Expedition and Valdrakken Accord, are also the ones giving them basically all of the recipes they want. The last of the grinds is with the Tuskarr, the Iskara Tuskarr rep. This is also perhaps the most complicated to explain. It's also the one that will put much more emphasis into an actual profession you can use already, which is fishing, which can also give you quite a lot of rep with this faction. So the simplest way to get this done is with the grinding of their totems. The totems are their turnings, right? Every faction has its own green currency item they can loot from certain activities, chests, caches, or enemies. In the case of the Tuskarr are the totems. Totems are roughly, generally speaking, found in the Azure Span, also roughly, generally speaking, in the southern coast and the southern borders of the Azure Span, across those mob hubs all around, starting from Brackenhide, the elite zone, all the way to the left of the Azure Span, and then going down the coast in multiple other spots. These are particularly bitchy because the chests that can contain these relics are not showing up on the minimap, which means you have to find them yourself, which means you have to, for example, go and look around for routes, for paths made by other people who already lost their sanity, trying to check and mark on their own personal map where all of the places where these totems chests are spawning, so they can go back there again while they are grinding. So that would also save you quite a lot of time rather than trying to learn all of the spawn locations and the spawn timers by yourself. That is the first way to do it, and even then it's quite a long one. We're talking about much longer than Obsidian key farming. It's also on a similar level to the insane grind of Dirt post nerf, so we're still talking about quite the time consumption, and also it's the annoying one. It's not even the type of AFK, autopilot type of grind like the Maruuk Centaurs, okay? Just follow the stream of 39 other people going to one place, you know, land there, get a bunch of rep. Oh, 4 minutes and we're done, let's just fly and move to the next grand hunt. In this case, you actually have to actively be awake and check out all of the hidden places and hidden locations where these chests are spawning, fight enemies as well in those locations. It's a less known type of grind, which means you will be finding less groups, less parties willing to do this, so it is definitely even more time consuming and attention requiring than the other types of grinds. There is, however, a break. There is a break because this can also be done, number 1, by gold, and number 2, by fishing. Because in this place right here, which will be found depending on where you see the fish hook in the minimap, is going to be the one where you can turn in fish at this repeatable quest. The first turning looks quite appealing because it's 250 rep. It's like, wow, easy. I'm going to the auction house buying the cheapest fish and quick, Renown 25. Well, no, that's just the first turning. After that, the rep goes from 250 per turn-in to 5 per turn-in. But you can still do it. Technically, it's still endless. Technically, if you're rich, you can still do this just fine. Other ways to do this is that fishing has a chance to give you upgrade items for the special fishing equipment. You know, nets, harpoons, being able to fish in special places like highlands, like frozen waters, or even lava, those things. And once you unlock those, which require Renown 13 and Renown 18, you will still be able to get the upgrade items from fishing. And once you get them, after you have unlocked them, you can turn them in for 150 rep each, effectively making fishing a repeatable reputation source for the Tuskarr. And of course, you can only loot these, you can only fish these from these special fishing places. So getting the first one to Renown 13 should be relatively simple, and once you have gotten that one and upgraded it, you can go into these special places and just AFK fish to get the rep. We are talking about, and I'm being pretty generous here with a 10-second long fishing cast, we are talking about 30 hours of grinding for you to go from Renown 10 to Renown 25. Technically, we should say Renown 24 for 12 Renown levels, since the earliest time in which you can start this grind is Renown 13, because that is the Renown in which you will be able to actually start fishing these things that you can turn in for 150 rep each. So this is also quite the long grind. It is also going to be longer than the totem hunting. Totem hunting can be in the 20-ish hours range, whereas this one is in the 30-ish hours range, but the benefit of this is that you can do this mostly just chilling AFK without paying too much attention, as opposed to the totem hunting, which requires much more of your focus in doing it over a long period of time, so that might be up to preference. Either way, it remains one of the longer type of grinds, together with the Valdrakken Accord and the turning of keys in the Obsidian Zone. The Maruuk Centaur being the easiest one and the fastest one in the 10-ish hour range if you're somewhat fast, and then lastly the Expedition, the Dragonscale Expedition grind, a mix of disturbed dirts and also getting artifact turn-ins from doing keys with the Valdrakken Accord as well. As I said, this was not just a bunch of tips and tricks in how to get your Renown levels up with these factions, it was also a tale of degeneracy of WoW players and how much time they are willing to spend with these type of grinds, seemingly boring, seemingly endless types of grinds, but that is what many players have been doing these days, as they don't have much of anything else in terms of endgame content being open. I guess that's what keeps their mind occupied, so that is what you have to do to rev up your level in the Renowns for these 4 factions. So for today, in terms of PSAs to the community, we are done when it comes to reputations. Thanks of course as usual to all of my Patreon supporters for the contribution and the help in growing this channel. You can support still in other ways, which don't include spending money. Liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to this channel, are 3 easy ways to do so, completely free. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, subscribe to my Patreon to get access to my Discord server, and also I am found on Twitch TV streaming, generally speaking, past 10 PM European time zones, 1 PM Pacific time zones in the US, as well as past 4 PM Eastern US time zones. Thank you guys again for watching, see you guys soon, and in the meantime, today was the first day in weeks where I woke up before noon. Amazing, amazing. What is this? What is this thing outside? What is morning?